Welcome back to the Whole You, everyone. My name is Gulveg. Happy New Year, everyone. May the next 12 months be prosperous, be healthy, be blessed. And so today, January 2nd, we have the first new moon of this very auspicious year. So it is about that time, as is the usual, to do our bi-weekly new moon and full moon tarot readings. January 2nd today, we have a new moon in Capricorn, and this moon is a little bit of a mixed bag, as I'll get into here in a second. But as far as the numerology for 2022, I wanted to start off by talking about the number 6 in numerology. So 2022, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 breaks down to a number of 6. So this year is defined by the number 6. And the number 6, it very much talks about oneness, bringing things together, and embodiment of the heart. And so there is an opportunity here to live more from a heart center. And I think it's very interesting that we have this new moon in Capricorn that is kind of leading the way into this heart-centered year. Especially because this new moon, when we take a look at the astrology, it is very much defined by duality. Because yes, it is a 6 number, but the numbers that are creating 6 are all 2s. So it is about duality. Plus, we're going to talk here a little bit about some of the different alignments. And like I said, it is kind of a mixed bag. But before we get into that, let's get into the intuitive piece of the tarot. I think that that's probably a better bet to start our time off with the tarot. And then, as is usually the case, the alignment will definitely kind of weave its way into the messages that will probably be coming through. So let's take a look. Join me in setting the intention. What do we need to know most about this new moon, January 2nd of 2022, to benefit us in the most, usually I say the best and highest good, but what's coming to me is the intention of living in alignment with our authenticity and integrity. That seems to be a little bit more poignant. How might we utilize the energy of this new moon, January 2nd, 2022, to live in more alignment with our integrity, our authenticity, and our heart's truest desires? Okay. All right, the first card. Ooh. First, the card that comes up right out of the gate is the Star card. Ah, holla! I'll take that. That's a really lovely way to be starting off this reading. The Star card, my friends, is about rebirth. It's about a renewal of hope. This card comes up a lot when we've been through kind of a tough go, kind of the dark night of the soul, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And we have the water bearer here. So it's also associated with the zodiac sign of Aquarius, and which is about change and renewal and revolution and taking a different perspective. And then the card that comes after that, this is very interesting because this is the duality of this new moon is already speaking to us. We have the world reversed. And so the world card comes up when there's an end of a cycle. It's the last card in the deck. Everything has been completed. And I also think it's very interesting that this card is associated with the number 21, which is the year that we have just ended. With it being reversed, it means that perhaps even though there is an ending to the cycle, there might still be some work need to be done in order to harvest what it is that we would like to have gleaned from the hard work and from the challenges that we've overcome in the past year. And it can also mean that sometimes we may just not get what it is that we had hoped for. However, what's interesting is it came up with the Star card. So that, to me, what that says is that sometimes not getting what you want is the biggest blessing. Sometimes the job that we were turned down for wouldn't have been the best fit. Sometimes the relationship that we had hoped to heal and to reclaim, perhaps it better serves us to let it go. So there might be some tinges as we kind of wrap up any loose ends from 2021 where we might be kind of like, oh, that's too bad. But there is a silver lining that it is actually making space for perhaps something even better. So don't let these disappointments keep you from moving on. Because the Six of Swords is a card that comes up, and as you can see in the picture, the water in the foreground in this card is very rocky, but when you look in the background, the water is very smooth and tranquil. So this card comes up often when there is a transition that is needing to be had, and for a temporary period of time, things might be kind of rocky, but that smooth sailing lies ahead, that things will get better. We just have to kind of shove offshore. When it's reversed, it means that we might be a little trepidatious. We may not be lifting off. We might look at the choppy waters right in front of us and be like, oh, I don't know if this is such a good idea. I might get seasick. And you might get seasick, but remember, it's for a temporary period of time. Don't let temporary discomfort keep us permanently stuck. Ugh. Because the Star card is there to light the way. It's almost like this lighthouse for the Six of Swords reversed, where it's the Star card is just like, it's beckoning us to have that faith, to shove off and to move towards new shores. There might be some decisions that need to be made. Two of Swords reversed is kind of echoing some of the same things of the Six of Swords reversed, where we're at a crossroads. We need to make some decisions. And decisions based upon what it is that we truly want to harvest. And let's get into some of the astrology definitely reflects some of these themes that are coming up. There's kind of this mixed bag, right? We have the Star card, which it's like, oh, it's renewal, it's rebirth, it's hope, it's give it to me, yeah. And then we have kind of this world reversed where it's kind of like you've put in a lot of work, and perhaps in certain ways, maybe we don't really feel like we've gotten back as much as we had hoped for the amount of energy that we put into something. Which is interesting because the Seven of Pentacles is right side up. It is echoing I don't want to say a promise, but an energy that says, it's kind of like that try again. Like, it's okay to hit that do-over button in 2022. If things didn't pan out exactly as you had hoped, don't give up and keep going. So that's very interesting because this new moon that we're starting 2022 out with is in Capricorn. And Capricorn is the sign of the doer. It's the sign of the worker bee. Capricorns, they know how to do. Their mantra is, I do, therefore I am, which is a little bit of a dualistic mixed bag in and of itself. Because obviously that can set up a predisposition for a compulsion for workaholism, perfectionism, and burnout. So that's the flip side. However, if we do need any kind of medicine around kind of picking ourselves up from our bootstraps and try again, or we've been feeling really lethargic and stuck or unmotivated, then Capricorn is a really great sign to kind of give us a little bit of the nudge that we might need in order to step out of the tar pit and to move ahead. The other thing too that I wanted to talk about as well with this is that Venus is in retrograde, and it is also at 22 degrees in Capricorn. Also, Leo is rising around this new moon at 21 degrees and in the horizon, and it talks about the right to be seen, the right to be acknowledged. And so if there is some projects that you're wanting to put yourself out there where it's going to put you in the spotlight, where you're starting a blog or you're starting a YouTube channel or you're going to write a book or whatever it is, if you're wanting to get yourself seen and get yourself out there, then this is a really great time to start putting together the pieces and laying the foundation. However, with some of the other things that are going on, especially with Venus being in retrograde, you may want to wait until Venus comes out of retrograde in order to really kind of push that button and launch that new business or send that proposal or whatever the project might be, or to start that relationship. Because Venus in retrograde, relationships that are started with Venus in retrograde, oftentimes at first will seem like perfect. We'll have our hearts set our expectations really high, and then we get disappointed because we jump the gun. So Venus comes out of retrograde on January 29th. So this month is more about setting foundations and about preparing, about researching than it is about the doing. But because of all of the Capricorn kind of energy, we might feel a compulsion to charge ahead despite, like, half-cocked. So we might just be like, yeah, like, let's go and do the things. And because of all of the retrograde energy, we might end up having to either redo things or rethink things, or let's not do this again. Like, where we put in a lot of energy into something only to have to go back to the drawing board all over again. Mercury is going to go retrograde January 14th, and it'll come out of retrograde February 4th. So again, if this particular month, in the next couple weeks, you're thinking about launching something, you might want to just kind of keep it close to the vest. And, you know, you can set little seeds and send, you know, put up in social media and kind of spread the word. But as far as like the big launch and like just going for it, it may be advantageous to wait for a month or so, because we might find that our energy, what we get back, is going to be a lot better after Venus comes out of retrograde, and also after Mercury comes out of retrograde. So beware of compulsion. There's also potentially a kind of a tripping point of being overly concerned about what other people think with Leo and with Venus in retrograde, and Pluto in Pisces at 25 degrees, there could be some insecurities that might come up. So this also might be a really good time to do some shadow work, where if there's anything that might be pulling us back, if the inner child is scared to be seen because of whatever like the past holds for us, if we're afraid of being judged, if we have the disease to please, now would be a really good time to reach out for some resource and see how we might get those things put in check, so that when we do put ourselves out there and we allow ourselves to be seen, and we write the book, or we create the video, or whatever it might be, that we're in a stronger place within ourselves, that if we did come up to judgment or other people's opinions that did not honor us, that we're not going to be completely thrown off course simply because other people might have opinions. So being very aware that if there's any kind of self-doubt, lack of self-esteem, or obsession over how other people are thinking about us, or even how our appearance or anything of that nature, then that kind of stuff could come up in the next couple of weeks. And that is part of what might keep us stuck on shore. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can be that we then just acknowledge that that's our anchor. And when you know what's holding you back, it's a lot easier to move forward. It's a lot easier to pull up the anchor because you know where it's at. So now's a really good time this month to take a look at where you're really at. What are your resources? And to acknowledge some of the challenges, some of the tripping points. And instead of trying to put those pieces of ourselves that have self-doubt, that maybe struggle with self-esteem, that have maybe some insecurities around something about our appearance or something about how we show up in the world, instead of like trying to just kind of shove those into a toxic box of everything's love and light, it would be better to take a look at those pieces of ourselves, ask them what is the unresolved need. What do they need in order to feel accepted, in order to feel loved by us? By numero uno. What is the part that is feeling gushy and feeling kind of scared about moving forward? It's usually the inner child is usually part of that. And how might we embrace her and say, you know what? I'm the new mama. I'm the new daddy. I'm the guardian. Guess what? Here's the memo that that I'm now the adult, and that the big people no longer have influence over your life, little one. Embrace that inner child and put her in the boat with you. Don't leave her on shore. Love her and accept her. And she doesn't have to be perfect in order to deserve to ride along. Let her play. And that is really going to be part of the guiding light, so that we're working, so that when Venus comes out of retrograde and Mercury comes out of retrograde, and we're in February now, then you'll be able to work with a little bit more grace, a little bit more ease, and you'll be able to move ahead with the wind at your back. So let's not fall victim to Capricorn compulsion. I have a Capricorn moon, so like I can really speak to the kind of rigidity that the Capricorn energy can have. Like, it's so good at being able to move ahead and to be very goal oriented and to get things done. But it also, on the flip side of it, can be perfectionism. It can make us be too hard on ourselves. You know, there's enough judgment out there for everybody. We don't need to be our own worst critic. So this is really an invitation this month to be kinder to yourself first and foremost. I started off our reading talking about the number 6 and talking about how it's heart-centered and talking about how it's about coming from the heart. You, more than anyone else in your world, deserves all of the love, compassion, empathy, and forgiveness that you probably deliver to others. And if you don't deliver it to others, then that's even more of an indication that you are in need of that. Give it to yourself first, and it will have a ripple effect around you. So this is really about honoring the self. This new moon, the tarot cards, is about we can get really wrapped up in this whole new moon, or not new moon, the New Year's resolutions, where it's like, okay, now I'm going to get on that treadmill and I'm going to start the new health regimen and I'm going to start the new business. I'm going to do all the things, do. And this new moon is saying that it's okay to pause. In fact, it would be a good idea to pause and do you first. Do you first, take exquisite care of yourself, and it's okay to move forward at a pace that is sustainable and at a pace that feels good for you. That doesn't mean procrastination, because one step at a time is still moving forward. Don't have to put on your running shoes. As long as you're just taking one step at a time, you're still moving forward. And actually taking that time to pause, I'm being reminded of the Four of Swords here, where it's a card that is about meditation, about rest, and about contemplation first before we move ahead. That going within and taking stock of what might be potentially making things harder for us in our life, the things that we can change, in order to move ahead. And when we are able to take a look at what inside may be afraid, may be sad, then we can give those pieces what they need: love, compassion, empathy. And then the resistance is going to start to dissolve. It doesn't mean that those pieces completely go away. This is not about amputating a part of ourselves. It's about allowing the edges around it to soften so that it becomes more pliable, so that the resistance becomes a little bit more flexible. It doesn't mean that inner child is going to really like the risks that you might be wanting to take. It doesn't mean that he or she is going to feel absolutely enthusiastic about taking the risk to speak your truth. The fear piece of it is what makes it a courageous act. If there was no fear in that formula, then it's not really something that takes a lot of courage. 2022 is going to be a year where we're going to be asked to be courageous and accepting ourselves and taking the risk to love over judge, to take the risk to pause and put our own egos and our own opinions in check in order to be open-minded and to hear each other with more clear ears and more clear vision. All of that takes a tremendous amount of courage and a tremendous amount of self-awareness. And I think globally we are going to be asked to do that over the next 12 months. But it first starts within. And that's why we have a new moon that is creating a lot of duality. It's wanting to pull us into action. It's wanting to tempt us with, that compulsion of perfectionism and workaholism to do all the things and to prove our worth. And then the other spectrum of it is saying, yeah, that might be the temptation, but it may not be the best medicine. And the Capricorn energy is also one that can be very helpful for those of us who maybe haven't even gotten into the boat. It's like they're not even stuck on the shore, that they just haven't even gotten to the boat. Perhaps they've been stuck there for years. This new moon can be a really wonderful antidote to any kind of chronic stuckness, as long as we can stay out of the judgy part of Capricorn. So if you're going to move forward, make sure it's from a place that is because it's good for you. It's because you really want to, not from a place of like that you're earning something. It's not from a place of fixing something, or that I'm not good enough, and therefore we sometimes will do things in order to compensate for that not good enoughness. If that's the place that we're coming from, then that's what the cards are saying, that it's time to pause then. If we're coming from a place of anything else, then I'm doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because it's lighting me up. If it lights you up, then go ahead, do that research, put out the little seeds, gather your resources, and do what you need to do in the right timing for you. But there is no push, there is no pull, and you get to decide your timing. Nobody else around you, none of the shoulds, none of the other expectations, perceived or otherwise, need to be part of this formula. We can take the good stuff of this Capricorn new moon and use that ambitious piece of Capricorn as long as it is aligned with our heart. If it's aligned more with our ego and with our preoccupation of what other people think of us, then it's going to steer us off course and we're going to end up more stuck than anything. If we're coming from the heart and it's from a place of self-love and honoring yourself and speaking your truth, then we will harvest what it is that we are setting out to. But this right now, this month is really, really important about getting really clear on where it is that you're coming from. Because if we're starting off coming from a place of lack, coming from a place of doubt, coming from a place of fear, it will be a lot more difficult later on in the year to navigate and come back onto course. It won't be impossible. It's okay to make mistakes, but we will be making the first part of 2022 more difficult if we don't put ourselves in check first. So the last couple of years has definitely put a lot of people through the ringer. In 2021, for a lot of folks, has been one of the most difficult years maybe in their life. So we might have some battle wounds that we might need to attend to. So let's not gloss over the work that needs to be done internally for a preconceived notion of being productive. The overall theme of all of this, if I were to summarize it, is do you, boo. Do you. Put your own needs first, put on your own oxygen mask first, and get really clear on what your true needs are and what your heart's desire really is. And take a look at those parts of ourselves that might be wounded and in need of healing and might have some unresolved needs that still need to be met. And coming from a place where we can love and we can accept and we can nurture those parts of ourselves versus casting them into a shadow of judgment. If we can do that, then the star card says we will light the way and our decisions will be made much more clear. All right. It's a good one. So this new moon, it's like I said, it's a mixed bag. So it might be a little bit difficult because we might see things in our life and see parts of ourselves that aren't really all that convenient. It can be so much easier a lot of times just to get into the doing compulsion, into the rat race. And it's just like, well, if I just keep doing, then eventually like all of this will work itself through. Not necessarily the case. I think 2021 for a lot of us has taught some of us that just because we're doing doesn't mean that we're being productive. So let's not let the doingness be a distraction to the real work at hand of getting really close and intimate and clear on who we are, what it is that we have to say, and what it is that we truly want to do when the time is right. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me here. I am doing my January event where I am offering my event rate to both my to all my virtual readings as well that are either on the phone, Zoom, or FaceTime. So I will be extending those from January 10th through January 31st. If you're on the newsletter, you'll be getting some reminders about that. And you can save $30 on your readings for January. It's a really great time to get some clarity and to take a look at the new year ahead. All right, folks, have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful 2022, and take care and be loving to yourself first and foremost. Thanks. Bye.